we are. Woke up this morning to strong wind and loud rain through the early morning hours. And, it stopped just after I turned off my final alarm. And I said, we're committed to do this 5 to 6 days a week. This would be the day off because it just was like pouring rain. And then like right after that, it stopped raining. We got up and, or you got up. I was still laying in bed. I'd sent you a message. Let's take it off. And then you called out, you're like, Michael? And I was like, yep, I'm up. And, but it stopped. We walked all the way to the beach. Man, it was very windy. The water was very cold. But then it felt great. I couldn't believe that you went back early, but...
Oh, I had 3 incredible waves.
Yes.
Like, I was not going to top that. That's why.
You wanted to leave on top. Yeah, I just wanted to keep enjoying it, so I stayed out there a good another while. We came back, came inside the house, and then it started really heavily raining again. It was just like that perfect window, for our morning. But as we were sitting here thinking about what we were going to talk about, Hans, you brought up, you wanted to know more about what does it mean to be an ally versus a friend.
Well, the issue is that we introduced the concept of ally, and it sounds great to people. But you notice instantly that they don't really get how big of a difference it is, and how big of a stand it is, how big of a responsibility, how big of a practice. So I've been going over the episodes of the Seduction Show, and we introduce it and we talk about it. But I think what would be great is for you to define what it means to be an ally and how it's different from being a friend.
Yes.
So how would you define?
Well, what's interesting, I'll say first, is the word ally today is kind of being appropriated by, I would say, people like in leftist circles and social justice warriors, advocates. And they basically define ally to mean that basically an ally would be a white person who basically shuts up, apologizes for everything, agrees with them on everything, supports them on everything, gives money to their cause. Like it's all about full support of whatever they believe, whatever they feel, whatever they want, and anything less is not being an ally. And what I have to say about being an ally is almost directly opposed to that. It's almost directly opposed to that. Because in my world, an ally calls me out. He doesn't justify all my feelings and all my needs and all my wants. He calls me to ultimate self-responsibility. And so, am I an ally to people on the left? Am I an ally to people of color? These sorts of things. Not in the way that they would define being an ally. And it doesn't matter to me if they define it differently. It's their invitation to be an ally is, in many ways, in my view, not to be a man.
So the first thing I heard was interesting is that it's my ally calls me to my ultimate self-responsibility.
Yeah, to my ultimate greatness, to my ultimate power, to my ultimate evolution. And
so who does the ally call out? So you show up as an ally, which means you call them out to their ultimate self-responsibility?
And myself. So it's okay, so you have one, we all have this part of us that would just like to stay in our comfort zone, not face who we could be, not face responsibility, not face who we could be for our people and in the world, and we'd like to not be aware of that. stay in the nest, to use a metaphor we've used on this show. And then I also have a part of me that would like to stay in my nest, be comfortable, and all of this. So if I'm your ally and I see you avoiding your responsibility, you're blaming, you're blaming other people for your circumstance, you're not assuming full responsibility for your people, your values, your desires, your mission, then I'm going to come to you and call you out. And I want to take responsibility for doing it in a way that'll be effective.
But you talked about self-responsibility, and now all of a sudden you make a jump also, like, to be there for my people. So I would like to go back to that self-responsibility. What does that mean? Like, when you first talk about...
Well, I'm assuming that someone doesn't want to just go for their own personal dreams, but they also want to be a great man for their people. So that's why I brought that up. Mm-hmm. Me, for example, like, that's what I want. I don't want to just it to be all about me, but I want to be a great man for my people.
So when you talk about potential, what does that mean? Is that the ally sees the potential and calls the other out when they're not playing up to their potential? Like, who's the judge of that? Who that potential is?
Yeah, so, this could get complicated because it depends, is there an alliance, so to speak? Because I consider myself an ally for people in the world in general. This doesn't mean that I have a formal agreement with people in the world that they have asked me to stand for them, to call them out, all of these things. So, I'm not going to chase all 7 billion people around and try to, call them out, right? But, with you, I have heard you deeply express what your dreams are, what you're committed to, who you desire to be. And so when I see you playing less than that, or making excuses, or not accepting full responsibility, then yeah, I take it on as my responsibility to not let you get away with that. Because in a way, in my point of view, that's the weak part of you. That's not even the real you. The real you I relate to as powerful.
So what I hear in this, and I think that's important, is that you know what my deepest desires are, what my dreams are, because I've expressed them. So in that sense, you're not the judge of it. You know what I want to stand for, and you see me not playing up to that level, then you come in.
Well, I also relate to people from their potential. Like, if someone tells me I hate my father because this, I don't want this, and blah blah blah, I don't listen to that as if that's the ultimate truth. I listen to that as, okay, they have pain around this, whatever, but their fullest expression of their heart and their soul would love the love and respect of their father, and would love to be a greater man. And so I don't, a lot of people, and here's a distinction between friend and ally. If I'm emotional and I'm telling you, yeah, I don't want this, and go away, and blah blah blah. If you're my ally, you don't. If you're my friend, maybe you take that at face value, my words and what I say, and you okay, I want to respect my friend, I want to make him comfortable, basically. And this is kind of like, friends deal more on this lower level of reactive self, emotional self, and the ally is more the ultimate self, so to speak.
Because I have experience with it, so I'm not coming from a place of like trying to understand it. I'm trying to poke at it, because what I hear is the possibility of also like not listening to what the other has to say because you think you know what they're really trying to say, and also make decisions for them. And doesn't it open like the gate for taking responsibility, taking others men or other women's responsibility for their for how they want to.
Maybe you can give an example so that it's more clear.
Well, if I say something like what the example you just gave, you know, the guy is like, "Fuck, I hate my father," you know, and you come in and you say, "Oh, well, what I hear is that he wants the love of his father," you know, and you act accordingly. If you come in accordingly with that in mind, and the guy says, "The fuck, man? Don't you? I fucking hate my father. Listen to me." You know, and you say, "Yeah, but I know you just want the love of your father." The fuck?
Well,
you know,
I didn't say that that's what you do
right,
or how you do
right,
it.
but yes,
Right. But inside of myself, I know that I don't take anyone's emotional words that they say at face value.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. This is also, it gives me, you could also say, great liberty to just be free and to tease and to joke and whatever, because I just don't, I don't take it at face value, you know? And so here's the thing. So if someone gets upset at me, let's say I take an approach with someone I'm being an ally for, and it really kind of backfires. I could be upset at that and go away and be like, okay, well, I'm not going to be your ally. You know what I mean? Or I could just completely back down and never confront them again. See, most people don't want to be confronted.
Yes.
They don't want to be confronted with ultimate responsibility, with their highest self. And so I could retreat back into my comfort zone, but then I'm not being an ally. So I take it on the responsibility to say, okay, how can I reach him? How can I change course and reach him?
How would you define them, an ally? I have a great example, by the way, but I want to tell me how you would define being an ally.
I would define being an ally as being someone who, accepts no excuses for standing for another's highest good.
That's a risky definition, man.
What are you saying?
Well, I mean, the government is standing for our highest good when they say you all have to stay in, you know. And you can say, oh, maybe that they're being an ally to me, and I feel fuck. They're not speaking for me. They're not like, that's not what I want. So, yeah, I think the door is open for a lot of, like, with the definition, it doesn't show the strength of being an ally. Or maybe the question is, how do you be a good ally? How do you be a good
ally? It's a deep inquiry. It's not a simple definition. It's not like a simple definition is going to reveal everything. You know, it's like, what is the truth? What is love? What is God? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
it's a much more complex.
Of course,
thing.
But if you want to introduce it as the highest form of relating, it would be very good to articulate what it is. How is it different from what people think it is? How is it different from being a friend? That would be very good, you know?
Yeah.
So, I have a great example.
Well, I have my 16 ally distinctions.
There you go. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah. But it's not a definition. But I'll see if I can recollect it off the spot. But there's like 4 different dimensions, and then there's 2 options on each one of those.
Tell a couple.
It's something like this. It's like I stand for you, or the highest good in you, even in the face of my own weaknesses. Okay, so this is one dimension. So I might feel like, who am I to call you out because you're already successful in this way, you're already maybe older than me, you're more intelligent or whatever. See, I have my own weaknesses or doubts about, like, who am I to call you out? If I see that I can help raise you up, I do it anyway, even in the face of those weaknesses.
What is the highest good in this? Like, what is that?
It's what matters is if I perceive that you are, let's say, giving up on yourself. You're giving up on your people. You're playing less than what you could be playing. You are not acting, you're not keeping your word. You're not acting in line with who you say you are. Any of those things. And it's not as if I'm right, but if I see that, that's my call. It's as if I imagine I'm the ally to, let's say there's two Hans. There's like the ultimate Hans who has no fear, wants to be the best man he can be in every way. And I'm an ally to that guy who if he's not reaching you right now, I'm looking at that guy. I'm like, I got this, I'll go speak to this Hans and remind him who he is. And does that make sense?
Yes, you don't have to try to make sense to me. I really want to, because I know what it is, but I also know the trouble of people trying to understand it. That's why I'm poking at, like, really pinpointing it.
So let me give another variation on that. So, like, I stand for you and your highest good, even in the face of my strengths. Okay, so maybe I feel like I'm much better than you at something, and I don't want to make you look small. So I don't want to call you out. I don't want to confront you with something because I don't want to shame you. I don't want to whatever. And so I try to take care of you, I'm not being your ally, right? And it's just an excuse to not show up for your praise.
Yes, both examples.
So there's 16 of those kinds of things.
Yes, but both of them use the phrase, and that's really what we're trying to understand. That's what you need to articulate better, is I stand for your highest goods. What does that mean? That is the key. Like what that, earlier you said, I know what your desires is because you've expressed them to me. That is a great thing, because I stand for your highest goods. There's a lot of pain in the world that has been caused in the name of that. It's for your own good. It's just, so how is it different than that? What does it mean to stand for someone's highest goods? What is that? That's what's interesting.
Yes.
So
that's a great inquiry. But the thing is, if I notice the disparity, then I bring it. I look into that. I get curious. What is it? Is what I am seeing, is that also real for you? What do you want?
Yes.
It's not as if I know, but if I have the sense that I could be someone for you, that I could help lift you up, that I will show up. And it's not about like saying, oh, I know what you want, right? I know what's best for you. But you think of like a parent with a child. The child will say, I don't want to eat my broccoli. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to do that. I don't want all this, what I want or don't want. As a parent, you have to stand for their future, their best self, them growing, them whatever, because you don't take their emotionalism and what they're saying about what they do and don't want at face value, because how are they going to grow? Like this, I told you about the younger brother of a friend of mine, who he's now 20 years later very angry at his father, doesn't want to see his parents again because he feels like his father didn't stand up for him. And as a young teen, he was getting into alcohol and drugs and whatever. And from his point of view, it's like, this was a call for help. Where were you?
Yes.
But maybe his father kind of tried to reach out a little bit, but he took his son's rejection of him at face value.
But staying for the highest good of them obviously is not enough, because otherwise not so many kids would be fucked up. And it's not the absence of their parents, it's the way they've been standing for them that has fucked them up. Like, we love you, don't disappoint us. So the key of being an ally is not in the definition of just, I'm standing for your highest good. What's really interesting is, like, how do you stand for someone? How do you know it's their highest good? What is that really, you know? Because I tell you, so much pain has been inflicted and lives been shattered for that very stand, like parents standing for their children. They really wanted the great, for their children to be great, and they fuck them up with their expectations. So, like, I understand and I get now more what it is to be an ally. But what's interesting is really define, what is that? Like, how does an ally stand for the greatness of whoever he's standing for? You know, what is the right way to do that? And a part of it is what you said earlier, is that the other has expressed and they really know their deepest desires, you know, their idea of their own greatness. And you speak to that. It's not what you think of them, how they should be, you know, what their greatness would be. Like, a lot of parents think, oh, you know, his greatest good is to become a doctor, you know, but it's not the kid's greatest good. They don't think of themselves as that way. So that's a great part of saying, standing for their greatest good is like, I know their values because they've expressed it, or they've let me know, or indirectly they let me know, and I stand for that, you know. It's not what I think how they could be great.
Yes.
For example.
Yeah, it's not being attached to what you think is their highest good. It's not being attached to what they think is their highest good. It's neither of those. So again, I would say it's an inquiry, but to articulate it further, I would say that what you really want is to support the other in becoming their own greatest ally. So they support the other in becoming their own authority. Like, and when I say their own authority, I don't mean like an external authority.
Okay, now we're getting someplace. That's great, because that's
Yes.
completely different than what parents do.
Well, some parents.
A lot of parents.
But yeah, supporting the other in being the chief of,
Yes.
of themselves, meaning that they're not divided within themselves.
Yes.
They are calling themselves to their heart, from their heart to their
Yes.
highest good.
It's almost like being an ally is like assisting the other in starting to trust themselves, that they have the compass to navigate the unknown, and that they trust this inner authority, not outside, not the state, not even me, no, but not even the ally. Well, not as an authority, an outside authority. The ally is a tool, but that you start trusting this inner authority as the guidance for your life.
Yes. And I would say, as an ally, the way that practically you're going to be most effective is to have that chief kind of leadership, which means that you really take them in your heart and you don't force them. You don't act from judgment, generally. And what you aim to do is have them feel that you really have them and their
Yes.
best interest in your heart.
Yes.
That's when you're going to have the most influence. And to do that, you're going to have to listen to them. You're going to have to be there for them. You're going to have to
Yes.
feel them, understand them, you know, and their needs, their concerns. So it's
Yeah, I think the first step in that is like the first step of seduction. When you give the other the feeling that they're seen, felt, heard. You got to meet them in their world. You got to honor them in their world. I think that's an essential step of being an ally, and where people misunderstood what it means to stand for their highest good.
yes,
It really means, first and foremost, meet them and honor them in their world.
yes,
What do they really value? what are their dreams,
Yes.
and then speak to that. You know?
And the honor window and facilitating the honor window for another is a great tool in being an ally, and coming from chief leadership and giving that to them, returning that to them. So, for example, you have someone in your family who they are committed that their father is X. They want no part of it. It's over, and they've tried, and nothing is possible. And if you understand the dynamics of judgment and the honor window, you can see the other side of the mountain that they can't see. And you know you can take them there. But how do you take them there? Right? It definitely is an art. It definitely is a process. But if you know that you could take them there, and as you like to say, lead the relationship to glory, lead the family to glory. This is very much the honor window work.
Yes, I think it's super valuable, and I think right now it's that's even a step further. You know, that's very advanced. You know, what I hear in this, our original inquiry, is what is different between friendship and an alliance, or being an ally, is to show up. What I hear is this: is to show up and make a stand for their highest good. Their highest good being what they imagine themselves to be in their most magnificent version of themselves. Their own values, their dreams.
And I would say more than that. It might even be more, it can also be what you see, like in their spirit, beyond what they can see right now. Not as if you're right about that. Not as if you're the ultimate authority on that. But it's similar to like this thing with the honor window. Someone might only have a dream of this because they don't believe anything more is possible. But if you've been there, if you know how to take them there, would they actually want this? And you don't know. It's not like you can say for sure. But you can, you know, especially with some experience of taking people to a much higher place, you can really guess that they would really love it that you came back to them and helped bring them to that.
But it's still that information is based, or that higher thing is based on what you sense that the direction that they want to go. It's not something from here that you think, well, this is the highest thing in the world, you know, and this person could. No,
it's definitely
it's
not
like really like you see what person that is. You meet them there, you see what they dream of, and you like you almost like, well, what if we go higher? You know, along that same line, where could we end up in? But what I'm trying to point at, because I see the danger, you know, is that this other person and their values and their dreams and how their spirit, that's the informant of like, what is the dream we see? You know, what is the dream you see as an ally? What is it that you hold them to? You know, the where we end up is really dependent on this person.
Yes.
And
well,
so it's not the
what
parent.
you see as a danger to me is not so much of a danger, because the question is, so let's say that you did think you know what their highest good is and you relate to them that way, and then they reject it. You know, what, do you just keep beating them over the head with what you think is right? No, that's not what an ally does. So even in the face of their, let's say, weakness or their rejection of you, and you feeling rejected, you know, like you still stand for them and for being the greatest leader, ally, person that you can be.
Those are two different things, because you started with one thing that was very interesting, that would answer the problem that I'm pointing at. Is like, do you keep beating them over the head? You know, like so many parents do. You know, the child, they want to make a stand for the greatness of their child. You know, they see it, they're not going in the right direction. They stand for it, and then they keep standing for it, but beating their child, and the child rejects it, and there's no like reconsideration because, oh, I'm standing for their highest good, you know.
Yes.
What you're saying, the ally is like, if I'm not effective into doing that, I take responsibility for that.
Yes.
And I change the way.
Yes.
I reconsider. I go talk with them. I listen more closely.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, it is maybe what I'm doing, making them resist their highest good.
Yes.
Or be less than, having them not grow, having them not step up. You know, is the way that I'm trying to call them to greatness, resulting in.
This is a great parameter. If you want to know if you're a good ally of me or not, are you taking responsibility for if the person you see and you want them to assert, if it doesn't seem to work, are you taking responsibility for it? You know, like that's part of your failure. You know, and that's a great insight. I think if you have that, fuck, it's not working. What am I doing? Instead of like, fuck this, and then you judge them even more, the other, you know?
Yes.
I sorry, but I see so many parents do this, you know? It's just incredible to me. And it pushes the child away, and it makes them have less victories.
Yes.
You know? That's I think we have now two great characteristics of what it means to be an ally.
Yeah, it's not letting yourself off the hook saying, well, I challenged him and I stood for him, he's not doing shit, so, you know, I'll just keep calling him a piece of shit until he levels up.
Like notice now.
If it's not working into him seeing the greatness in himself, being inspired inside of himself, desiring to take responsibility himself and doing it, then you're not being effective. You're not being an ally. Because throughout the discussion, I hear you really focusing on the stand that the ally make for their greatness, so to speak. And what I'm seeing, and I keep stressing and poking at, is when the other is not becoming that great person, you know, you as the ally make an inquiry like, how am I contributing? How can I improve this? I'm taking responsibility for their failing in a way. Like, and that's a great difference, I think, with what people think is an ally. Like, I keep standing for it. I stand for their greatness. They're not doing it, motherfucker. I keep standing for it. No, you should. This is your potential. This you could be. No, you could be a doctor. I don't fucking want to be a doctor. You could be a doctor. I'm standing for the greatness, you know. But they're not making the inquiry like, fuck, this obviously is not working. You know, what am I doing in this? You know, taking responsibility for the failure. Yes.
That's a good. I think that's a good.
Well, it's the ultimate question of challenge of leadership, right? Mm. Being a great leader or a mentor, I mean, these are leadership challenges. You know, if you have a basketball team you're trying to lead to the championship, but they don't actually even dream of the championship, not really, because they don't think it's possible for them. They think that they're just kind of mediocre or losers or whatever. They're fighting on the team, they're reactive. Mm. You know, like, to raise them to great champions is a real journey, you know. And if you're the coach and you buy into their limiting belief about themselves, you're a shitty coach. Mm-hmm. You know, if they react to your coaching and because they don't want to face their greatness, mm-hmm. they're reacting to the pressure of it. It's the way it's brought or whatever. It's too much for them. Mm-hmm. You always come back to yourself. How could I have them see it? Yes. How could I light the fire? How could I have it become their fire inside of them? You know, it's like, it's constantly coming back to it.
So it's almost like, as an ally, you take the responsibility. You take the responsibility on you to help someone else take full responsibility for for their life.
Yes. It's like
That's a very interesting.
becoming a leader who supports others becoming leaders. It's not about dominating someone
Yes.
into their greatness. You know, like,
Yes.
Yes.
I think we have to talk about this more, but I do think it's because I think to show up as an ally is so valuable. So I think it's one of the pillars of say the honor work and in relationships too, that it's really hugely important. I think that you could define it as best as you can, and also see the differences with friendships. So.
I just had an insight about a way to look at it. It's as if you're stepping into a father role or grandfather role or whatever to maybe finish the job that the father didn't do, you know, or the grandfathers, the elders didn't do, which is, as I see it, to pull, and let's just talk about men now, to pull the boys to becoming men, to becoming elders, you know, to greater and greater responsibility for themselves and their people. And to not accept any limiting whatever to that next level of responsibility. And if they don't feel called to it, they're going to resist it, right? So you also need to give them the call to honor, to adventure, and to, you know, and it's your job as an elder to take that on, to take that burden on in a way.
Yes.
And so it's, yeah, and I think that largely we live in a society, in a world without elders.
Yes. That's why I think like describing it as taking on the role of father or grandfather doesn't explain much. Because so many fathers and grandfathers are not doing it right.
Right.
But the idea of a chief, for example, that's a great example.
Yes.
That's a much better example because people can relate to it and give something different. And you've talked about the chief. And I think that's yes. I think a lot of the exploration of what it means to be an ally has to be in like what it like what does it really mean to make a stand for their greatest good, like, and to fill that in with the details. Like, how do you do that? Because just to say that, that's just, you know, any parent, you know, all the parents that do it right and all the parents that do it good, you know, and do it wrong, they will all think, I'm making a stand for the greatness.
Yeah, well, a great way for them to know that they're not doing it well, is if you bring it to them with a critique and they reject it. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to accept. They don't want to look at themselves.
Right.
Then they're definitely not being an ally like they could be, and and it might have been going on so long they might realize that they've failed. That they don't want to look at it. It's really a sore spot.
So maybe their greatness is indeed an indication of your level of allyship. You know?
Can be. I mean, it's also like you have limits on time and limits on who you focus on and all of these things. And people also have their own limits, personality-wise, genetic-wise, whatever. It's not as if every guy in the tribe is going to become a great chief.
Right.
It's not in their cards, so to speak. So it's not. But
if you want to become a greater chief, you know.
Greater. You can always become greater.
If you're a greater chief, you could change more boys into men.
Yes.
Like
more men into elders.
Yes.
And a bit of this to me sounds a bit preposterous for me because I've not been a literal father, grandfather as far as having my own children. However, like I look to that level of responsibility, like that's the level of responsibility that I take on. And I weep for my people when I see them go into war, and they just tear each other down, and they're willing to divide the family in half and throw half in the toilet.
Well, I see it now. Like the chief, like the chief is looking at his people and they're fighting, and he's trying to, he doesn't take sides, like he tries to bring them together. The ally also sees where someone is at, where someone could be, these two people, and he tries to have them get along so they can work towards each other. You know, he's not saying, "Oh, this and I'm choosing the magnificent self and you fuck you," or I'm, you know, he's trying to have them get along. You know?
Yeah, let me say it like this. It's as if to be an ally is to assume the role of chief.
Yes.
Even if you're not their chief.
Yes.
But it's to show up that way.
Yes.
As if you care about their highest.
Yes.
And all of their people and your people. And you want to lead everyone to greatness.
But not just you care about their highest. You care about where they are at right now. You understand where they're at right now with all their troubles. You're not judging that person. You know, you let them get along with their highest self so they can work together to get there. That's, for me, a great way of looking at it.
To me, a chief how you know that you're a chief for someone is they feel that you hold them in your heart.
Yes.
They really
Yes.
are open to you because
Yes.
they really feel like you get them.
Yes.
So if you have a family member, a friend, or whatever, who rejects you and your advice, your support, your whatever, they don't feel you're a chief to them because they say who their chief is. They say who they feel is speaking
Is
with
representing
them in your heart. Yes.
Yes.
So, that's a great further distinction. So it's a great challenge, you know, to. So what a lot of people, especially like the left, really is liking to use this term ally. How they're seeing allies, like, as I see it, you come be my friend and just, no matter what I feel or react to or say that I want or whatever, you just 100% go along with that. And to me that's kind of, I'd call that like a friend. And maybe that's a friend, and maybe that's a lousy friend, but maybe that's what they would think a good friend is, or what they call an ally.
Right.
But to me, that's not being an ally.
So if this conversation shows anything, is that like the concept may resonate ally, as it's often do when we talk about it, but it is a big stand, a large responsibility.
It's a call to greatness.
And a continual practice that requires a lot of attention, focus, growth, mastery.
It's a path of mastery.
It's a path of mastery. And I love what the connection we made with the chief is a real indication, is if the one you think you're an ally to, you stand for, if they see you as their chief, if they feel that you have him in their heart, and it's a great indication of how you're doing as a chief, and if there's growth in there, So it's a great inquiry. I think we should do more of it, because I came in with the desire to define it a bit more and to have the differences with friendship, and I think we touched upon a couple, but I think it would be a great inquiry to do more of it, so people can see, wow, there's a higher form of relating to one another, and what does this entail? Where can we go with this? Because the power of it is incredible,
Yeah, thanks for challenging me on it, because to me that's being an ally. Like, you see, okay, here's something that if people got it more, they could step into it and the world could be a better place. But it's not clear. And I might have an energy like, I don't know, it's clear. And I might be giving you a signal like, back off, or just accept it like this.
Yes.
But you keep challenging me for the greater good.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's being an ally.
Yes. Good. So if the conversation shows you it's a little bit more complicated than you thought, that's great. And if you want to work in it and try to be an ally or practice being an ally, I think it's the greatest good.
Try?
Yeah,
There is no try.
There is. I try, man.
There is no try.
I did.
Allies do not try. You know, imagine the chief of a great nation of whatever, and he's like, I tried. And then he's done.
No,
I
not
tried.
You tried.
I
but
tried.
You try. You try to resolve it.
No. No.
Here's the
I'm,
definition.
I'm standing in that one.
Being an ally is trying to resolve it.
No. No.
Yes, because resolving it's not guaranteed. The
No,
stand is guaranteed.
Trying is like, I'm going to give it an effort. And then I'm letting myself off the hook with whatever happens. It's not trying it. It's being it. Being committed to it.
But the commitment can be there, but the success is not guaranteed. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's not about the success. It's about walking the path.
So you try to have the success, but the success is not guaranteed.
No, I hate that word. And I think it's really, it's dangerous also to even use that word because it gives people an out. It gives people a way to leave the path. They tried. I'm going to give it a try. That's how we use the word. I'm going to try. I'm going to give it some amount of effort, but I don't expect it to work. And it'll be a way out. Stand for it. Use the word stand. Use a stand that doesn't, you don't try to stand. You either stand or you don't. And you keep standing.
But success is not guaranteed.
Yeah, it's not guaranteed.
There you go. All right. I think that's a good inquiry, and I think we need some more. So maybe tomorrow.
There is no try.
I'll try to remember that.
Do or do not. Be or be not.